Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Your Advisors Will See You Now. So, I just recorded an episode about becoming a funeral director. And as I was talking and listening, I just wanted to provide just a disclaimer that it was a very light episode for the most part. But I think if you know, have a hard time listening to things about funerals, or if you've recently experienced the loss of a loved one, or somebody close to you, maybe you don't want to listen to this episode. I don't think there was anything graphic. Our guest is very gentle and she delivered it in a great way. But I, even sitting here listening and speaking with her myself, felt like a little bit emotional. You know, it's something that's hard to hear. So I just wanted to provide that disclaimer that if you're not comfortable listening to things regarding funerals or end of life, then we invite you to skip this one. We understand that it's a hard topic. I just wanted to put that in the beginning of the episode, so that we can just have you skip this one, and we totally understand. But thanks so much for supporting us in our other episodes. But still, this is a great discussion about working in the funeral services industry. But yeah, wanted to put that out there. Thanks everyone. Enjoy the episode if you are going to listen. Hi, I'm Kiki.
And I'm Kemi.
And you're listening to
Your Advisors Will See You Now, a podcast that will help you to figure out all of your options for life after high school.
Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Your Advisors Will See You Now. We are back with another one of our career chats. If you are new to the podcast or haven't heard of our career chats before, these are episodes that we have been doing. They've been very popular for the past couple of years. Episodes where we interview people in different career fields, just so that you all as high school students, or if you're a professional already and you're looking for a career change, or you're a parent of a high schooler or a college student, you can just get more insight into the day-to-day life of the people that we interview in their different careers. We've interviewed people in healthcare, in the business sector. We've interviewed people in education. We have a lot of episodes, and these have been some of our most popular episodes. So we'd love for you to check them out. Kemi and I always learn something new about different fields. We've had truck drivers, people that work for pilot schools. So we've tried to do a huge range of episodes. And today is a different one. And something that it's different because I think it's somewhat taboo, and I'll let Nikki explain more. It's not as well known, I should say, maybe. But this morning it's morning where I'm recording. So today we're joined by Nikki Armstrong. She's a talent acquisition manager for Service Corporation International, also known as SCI. Nikki does talent acquisition for funeral directors. And she mentioned, and I'll let her explain more, but she mentioned a lot of different places that she's done this in. So she's not a funeral director herself, but she has a lot of experience in recruiting them. So Nikki, thanks so much for being on with us today.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Yeah, we're excited. And I say it's different because I don't know. I always remember. So Kemi and I both have backgrounds in academic advising, and I remember sitting down with a student, and she wanted to be a funeral director or work in a funeral home, and she came up with her family, and they were not having it. And I was kind of sitting, I'm just the advisor, so I couldn't really do much but tell her what classes she could take and try to give her general classes that would appease all of them. I thought that was really interesting just because it's something that, and you'll explain more again, it's something that we need. Like, it's not going to go away as long as humans exist. Right. It's not, funeral homes are going to be a part of our life. So I thought it was really great that we're having you on here, because I do think it's not as commonplace as some of the other careers that we hear about in our day to day. But it's a thing. I just think it's misunderstood a little bit. So we're excited to have you on to explain more about this career. Yeah. So we'll get started. I would love for you to explain what you do in your career as a talent acquisition manager. And then if you could explain about who you're recruiting, then we'll get started with that, please.
Definitely. Okay, so I am a talent acquisition manager, as you stated. I was actually promoted up the ranks in my company. And at one point, I was a recruiter as well. I've been with SCI for about 12 years, and we look for funeral directors, embalmers. But the interesting thing that I love about my company is the fact that we look for a variety of positions that people have no idea or don't even realize that they could work in our organization. We do have a corporate office, just like a lot of other companies do. So we have corporate positions. So the interesting thing about working for our company in general is that if you were looking and didn't quite have an idea of where you wanted to be, there's a little something for everyone there. Our main focus and priority, of course, is to get funeral directors in the role because that's the nature of our business. But we recruit for drivers. If you're interested in real estate in our corporate offices, there's buyers. There's just different things. If you're interested in cosmetology, we have cosmetologists that are actually helping to dress and casket bodies. It's just anything that you can think of. Accountants, for our corporate office. Funeral assistants, people who are removing the bodies from different places. So removal technicians, just a variety of things. And that's what I find is most fascinating about this organization. Because when I first came on, I actually came on through a temporary agency, and I was just like a lot of other people thinking, oh my gosh, Nikki, you must really need a job. You are working at for a funeral company, and I'm scared of bodies.
Yeah. Yes.
But oh my God. And it's the most wonderful group of people. They are individuals who are compassionate, loving people, who help people during horrific and tragic times. So this would definitely be an industry that if you are a person who enjoys helping people or planning events, because what a lot of people don't realize too is that funeral directing has a lot to do with planning events. It's a lot of event planning. We have a really huge focus on planning celebrations and celebrating people's lives. So just to give you an example of that, I buried my mom back a couple of years ago, and her favorite drink was Coke. So we managed to get in some Cokes and had a little sign and a setup saying "Share a Coke with D." That was her name. They're very creative. And we have had all kind of creative things to go on. That's just a really small tad bit of it. But if you're interested, like in planning events, different soirees, so to say, this is the industry for you. And it's not that cold, grim industry that people would think. It's more of a compassionate industry. It's helping people to celebrate the ones that they loved. So, yeah.
That's great. And I was gonna say, you even mentioning your mom, how you all were able to honor her with something that she really liked. And, more often these days you hear it's called a celebration of life. So I think that kind of takes it's still tragic, of course, but it takes like some of the grimness away.
Yes.
And we'll talk about skills needed, but you mentioned compassion, which, a lot of teenagers or just people in general want to be in helping careers. And this is absolutely one. So I think it's great. You mentioned like, they really are event planners. This is an event. Like, so right. I think you're gonna help people to kind of break some of those misconceptions about this career.
I hope so.
So for people that want to enter into the funeral director career, or mortuary sciences, what would you say you all are looking for in terms of like education and training background?
So believe it or not, just until recently, we've actually had, so let me just say this. The qualifications and education vary from state to state. So each state has their own requirements of what they require you to do and what to complete. The basic though, right now, the basic thing that you would need to do is enroll into a school of mortuary sciences or funeral sciences. So it's usually anywhere from an 18 to 24 month program. And then you can in some states, you can apply for apprenticeships. Some places, that's not always necessarily the requirement. But again, it varies from state to state. And up until now, we just have mandated. All of the states have mandated that you just have some kind of formal education, because I know in the state of Colorado, just last year, you weren't even required to have any of that. You could just be a regular person off the streets, come in and make arrangements,
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. But now, as of now, yeah, all of the states have some type of requirement. They just differ. But the basic thing that you want to do is complete or look for your school closest to you that offers a mortuary or funeral science program.
And in your experience, do you see that these are more at the as a mortuary science degree, more at the bachelor's degree level, associate's degree level, or again, like it may vary, but what have you seen in your experience?
So we love people who have bachelor's degrees. We love it, but we also employ the majority of the people who come into our program have associate's degrees.
Okay, very cool. So I figured, because you said 18 to 24 months, so it's typically an associate's degree.
Correct.
Okay. And I'm just curious, I'm kind of just going off now. What would you say, what would a bachelor's degree provide more for in terms of this career? Is it just like having more, or sorry, I'm trying to think of like what kind of classes maybe do you see that they get more in a bachelor's degree versus the associate degree program? Hope that makes sense.
So in terms of the curriculum, I think what excites our managers in looking at people who may have bachelor's degrees in it is the opportunities for advancement and just a tad bit more knowledge and going in depth in the program in different classes. Our company is built up the foundational principle that we love promoting from within. So when we find somebody who has that bachelor's degree, it's a little bit exciting because they have a little bit more knowledge than the person who has the associate's degree. Right. And we're always looking at opportunities for leadership and advancement. But like I said, the majority of the people who come into our company and work, we're definitely welcoming those individuals who have completed their studies with an associate's degree. And in some cases, we hire apprentices as well. So once, because some states may require you to become an apprentice prior to becoming a fully licensed funeral director. So this is an occupation that will require a license, that requires licensure, but it varies again on what those qualifications would be per state.
Mm-hmm. And I'm really intrigued by you all promote from within. I think that is incredible because that just shows, I'm sure a lot of people at the company have a lot of longevity there. You said you've been there for 12 years, which is amazing. And I think that hopefully encourages people with SCI and other companies too, like to hear that they promote from within is a huge green flag. So when people, let me ask, does the company help? So if somebody did come in with an associate's degree and they want to grow more, do you all offer like tuition assistance or tuition reimbursement, things like that?
I'm so glad you asked because I was just had that thought as well. So if you were interested in something that is funeral industry related in our company and you didn't quite know what it was, you come in and you work for us, but hey, you decide I want to become a funeral director. Yes, absolutely. We offer tuition reimbursement. So we do help with tuition. If you were to apply and enroll into a program, we would definitely reimburse you for that program and help you with your college tuition as well. And we just, that's just one of the great perks that we have. It's this corporation, we employ over 25,000 people. I don't even think people realize how many people we employ. And just to give everybody here on the phone an idea, if you're thinking, okay, well, this is 25,000 people, we employ people in Hawaii, Canada, Puerto Rico. If you ever drive past a location and you see the Dignity sign on it, that's our brand. So SCI, Service Corporation International, is our parent company, but our brand is Dignity. So you'll see these all over and they're everywhere. So yeah, It's a huge organization, and we have plenty of perks for people who are looking for career advancement. We have great benefits packages, very generous 401k packages. Yeah, it's a great place to work. And also, speaking of that, we've been certified as a great place to work since 2017.
Very cool. That's awesome. That's awesome to hear. So for a funeral director, can you talk a little bit about what their day-to-day looks like?
Yeah. So for funeral directors, most of their day to day includes meeting with families, sitting down, talking to those individuals, talking about what their needs are. They want to learn a little bit more about the person who they're honoring and how they can help you with this situation. They are very helpful. So in everything that you would have to do in order to honor your loved one is basically going to come to them for them to do you, for them to give it to you. I can recall, I'm just going back to my own experience because again, I'm not a funeral director, but we recruit for them when I went there. And I just want you guys to imagine and picture this. My mom passed. I'm the only child. I don't know what to do. All I literally had to do was pick up a telephone and set up an appointment. When I got there, the funeral director had almost everything taken care of. She was asking questions, things that I had no idea that I might need. Recommending or making recommendations and suggestions on what we can do in order to honor mom, what we would need in order to, create her celebration and, finalize things with her. And it felt like such a burden was lifted off of my shoulders.
Mm-hmm.
This is what they're doing. They're sitting down during your most tragic times and speaking to individuals and helping you through the most difficult time of your life, because I promise you, this was the most difficult time of my life. I didn't know where I was going, what I was doing. She made me feel so at ease, knowing that, hey, everything's going to be taken care of. Everything from removing her body to helping to pick out the outfit, create the ambiance, selecting the casket that we needed. She was just perfect, and I really did appreciate that. So that's basically what they're doing. They're meeting with all of these families on a day-to-day basis, making these plans. And then at the time of the funeral, she was right there by my side, just kind of, making sure that everything was going as I planned and everything was going as I needed for anything. And it was just wonderful. So I can tell you that this is what our funeral directors do on a day-to-day basis. They help people. That's how their day looks. They help people. And then they plan the most magnificent celebrations you'd ever want to see.
Sure.
Honor your loved ones.
I'm just curious to hear too, and you did mention some in the beginning. What are some of the other occupations that are involved in the planning of a funeral service along with the director?
Yes. So we also have individuals. We have a sales team. They help with pre-need and at need. So they help individuals who are looking to purchase different plans to bury family members if that event should happen. And then we also have the at need, so that if something comes up now when you need it, there's individuals that are on site that can help you at need to select packages such as caskets, etc. Catering services, we do that as well. Those types of things. We also have funeral support staff that help for the event. So there's the transport specialist and drivers who drive bodies back and forth from various locations. We have cemetery groundsmen, those cemetery people who keep up our cemetery, maintenance individuals. There's receptionists. There's people who are administrative, who we may need to help with like death certificates and administrative tasks and duties. Funeral assistants who help run around and make things good and help those funeral directors. It's just a variety of different things at a location that people just have no idea that are behind the scenes stuff to make your event, wonderful. Even though it's such a tragic time,
Right. Absolutely. And I think because it's such a tragic time, just to have all those people, as you mentioned, really doing the work for you. You just made a phone call and you said from there, your funeral director just took it just took everything and really made it easy for you.
Yes.
And I think that's incredible to hear. But also, you mentioned like catering staff, you mentioned the groundsmen and the drivers. So, anyone listening, you don't have to just be a funeral director. It's a team effort, truly. They're not doing it without the help of these other colleagues as well. So, that's awesome that there's so many different areas as a funeral corporation that you can fall into as well.
Yes. And I promise you, if you are looking for an occupation and don't know what occupation you're interested in, if you just took a look at our career site, it's sci.jobs, you would see that there's something for everyone. I mean, down to we have our own airport. Airplane service, yes. So we hire pilots, we hire legal teams, we hire lawyers, we hire real estate investors. We hire, you just name it, we hire it. And that's what I find is so fascinating, because I never knew before I worked here that we had all of these different industries. There's something for everyone, no matter what your interest seems to be.
Sure. That's amazing. I would never thought you would have said y'all have your own airport and airplanes. That's incredible.
Yes.
Very cool. You mentioned compassion. What are some of the other skills that are necessary to be a funeral director?
So, in addition to being compassionate, I would say that you have to be very organized. Okay? Very good customer service skills. This particular occupation really requires someone who can plan successfully. So everything that you think you need for a plan to be an event planner, think in terms of funeral director. Okay. So let's see, organization, good time management skills, good customer service skills. Those are things that we look for in potential funeral directors. We also have forget the name of the word, but it's I don't want to say it, but we also rate our funeral directors on customer service. We really value how we treat our client families that come in, because that's how we get our business, based upon how we've served you better. So we really pride ourselves in having funeral directors who have the highest customer service scores. Is JD Powers. I had to think of it for a second.
Okay.
JD Powers. JD Powers scores to come in, and we do customer service surveys to ensure that we're offering the best service to our client families. And we are one of the companies who have the highest ranking individuals in the industry. So, and we're also the industry leader. Like, we are the largest company to employ funeral care staff. So we're the leader, and our service has to reflect that.
Sure. That's awesome. What would you say, and I'm sure there's many, so what would you say are some of the common misconceptions about the funeral industry in general?
Yeah, I think when people think funeral industry, they're like me. I'm scared of dead people. It's definitely not the most attractive industry for people. So I think that that's the biggest thing. You think in terms of taboo. You think in terms of, you think it's something that's dark or sad all the time. And granted, I'm not going to say that does not exist, that there aren't times when you're going to be sad, because you're losing people who you love. You're helping people who are losing people who they love. But I don't think people also realize that we're very involved in the community. There's lots of different things that our locations do at a local level to involve our community and make sure that this is also a fun job. So, I think people don't realize that. For instance, I know one location would do for Mother's Day. They did a little party in this. It's crazy, but it's a party in the cemetery, giving roses to the mothers and stuff like that. And it was so beautiful. Live bands. We do celebration honors for like Veterans Day and stuff or whatever. There's lots of different events for Halloween. They're doing movies in the cemetery, and It's just, yeah. So I think that people think that this is a very weary, dark place to work when
Mhm.
it's truly the opposite. If you think more in terms of being compassionate, caring for people, helping people get through a difficult time, you'll see that this is why we are a great place to work.
Sure, that's amazing. I'm learning a whole lot because even like listening to you speak, and I'm sure other people will feel it too. Like we're talking about like you mentioned tragic events like losing a loved one, and I'm kind of thinking back to loved ones that I've lost, and I'm kind of having like
Mhm.
a weird feeling, but at the same time, like oh, we were able to celebrate our loved ones, and I would have never thought like these events you're mentioning that you all do things like that because it's just yeah. I think as humanity for the most part we're like I'm not going to I'm not going to a cemetery to watch a movie or I would
Yep.
not want a band or something like that, but it makes it we are celebrating our loved ones when we do things like that, so I think that's amazing. Would have never thought that.
Yes, yes. I wouldn't have either. I'm telling you, especially, just coming into the industry, just, telling people where you work.
Mhm.
We hire funeral directors and embalmers
Yeah.
for a living, but it's a great place to work. I don't think that I could have made a better decision for a career ever. I think this is one of the best decisions I ever made to come and work for SCI. And I'm sure that this is why we have such longevity in our company, because
Mhm.
it's great people, great, compassionate people, just good people with good intentions.
Absolutely. No, this is very enlightening, and for me, and I'm sure for many that will listen as well. If you were speaking to a funeral director, speaking from a this director's point of view, if you can, please, and you've mentioned some of the fun aspects of it. Can you talk about some of the other highlights of their career, and then what you think they would say some of their challenges are as well?
Yeah. I think the highlights is basically most of my funeral directors that I've spoken to or recruited to come into the door would tell you that it's rewarding. This is a very rewarding career because you're able to see your skills, your planning skills, your time management skills, your customer service skills put to use in helping people get through a tragic time. And then once they've completed the celebration, it's rewarding seeing the families who are so grateful that, you've helped them through a difficult time. And then on the opposite side, which I would say is a challenge, I'm reminded of a situation where I spoke with a location manager who's actually a licensed funeral director. And she told me that one of the things that she felt was a challenge is that coming through those doors, you see everybody come from every walk of life.
Mhm.
So if you're a parent and you're seeing kids,
Yeah.
come through, it could be difficult. It could be really hard. You want to help these parents get through things, but also at the same time, you have empathy and sympathize. And, you're also saying, okay, this could be my baby. This could
Mhm.
be whatever. This particular location manager was like, I had to take a break. She's like, I had three babies to come through the doors,
Mhm.
in a matter of a month. I had to take a break. But she
Mhm.
ended up coming right back because she said it's so rewarding. There's nothing like helping that mom get
Mhm.
through that difficult time and losing their child, knowing that you had a part and participated in helping a family get through that grief.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, I can't imagine. But I'm thinking of these are somewhat therapists as well. They're
Yeah,
in a way they're not licensed therapists, but just having to be that consoling factor in these
yes,
events and things like that. Um, I was just thinking too, and we did talk about the education background, but have you encountered in your like recruiting in the past or currently people that have come from like psychology backgrounds or social work backgrounds? I'm just curious about
yeah.
if people have pivoted into this field with bachelor's degrees or associate's degrees, what backgrounds they're coming from.
Yes, that you'd be surprised. All walks of life. When
Mhm.
people, a lot of times, I will be honest with you, a lot of people who I've spoken to have attended a service of their loved one, and then it piqued their interest because then they're seeing how professional we handled the service,
Okay.
how we were able to put the families at ease, and all of the little small details that go into the event, and making this a more comfortable time for the family. So a lot of people from various walks have entered the industry. We have teachers, we have therapists, like you said, a lot of religious leaders, yep, counselors, you name it. They've become interested in this field. So even if this is even if you have a career right now and you're looking to make a career change and come into the funeral industry, if your career involves helping people, this is something that would attract you.
That's awesome. And then what are some words of advice that you would have for someone looking to pivot into the field? You mentioned a few, but just if you have any additional words of advice.
Definitely look into what's the requirement to become a funeral director or a funeral professional in your state, because like I said, they all vary according to state. Feel free to come to any of our locations, come to a location, do a visit. We have the most friendliest staff. You can talk to the staff to get more education on what you have to do in order to pursue a specific field. Shadowing those individuals and kind of seeing what they do on a day-to-day basis. But do your research. Do your research to find out what the requirements would be for you to come into the field based upon what you're interested in. Go to our website, sci.jobs. Look at the jobs that we have. Sometimes coming in as an entry-level role will pique your curiosity, and you may decide that you want to grow within the organization. And we, like I said, we help 100% with tuition reimbursement. So we can help you to get where you need to be or where you want to be, even if you're working at an entry-level job just coming into our organization.
That's awesome. That's awesome to hear, and great advice. And that's that's most of the advice that we give on the podcast for anyone listening, is just do your research, because we talked about misconceptions. We talked about things that people think are taboo, but it's like, until you do your research, you see this is really a normal job. It's just like doing anything else, but it just, maybe the events surrounding it are a lot more difficult to deal with, but it's still like, I mean, you mentioned a number of occupations within the funeral industry that people could do anywhere. So it's just having to translate that to this field, and maybe just changing our mindset about how we see the funeral services industry.
Yes.
And then I do have another question, or one of my final questions. If you were talking to, I mentioned at the beginning how I was sitting down with that student and her family who were not really in favor of her going into mortuary sciences. But if you were talking to the parent of a high schooler or a college student that's interested in this field, how would you maybe encourage them that this is, this to do their research, but also this could be a great field? Just maybe take this sting away from it. How would you speak to them?
I would tell them that they are lucky to have an individual who is such a kind and compassionate person, because their child or their student would be helping people through the roughest times in their lives. I would tell them to focus on the fact that that individual would be able to be there and help people who are going through difficult times cope through those tragedies by celebrating and honoring others. I would also tell them that the rewarding or the rewards that child would receive from that would make them so proud. They would actually be proud of the individual that they raised, to know that someone is interested in helping another person cope through the most difficult time of their lives, honoring those individuals and helping them through difficult, dark times, and getting them through that. So I would tell them that there was nothing to be concerned about, because their student is going to be an everyday hero, because that's what we have. We hire everyday heroes. That hero will be helping other people through the darkest times of their lives and celebrating and honoring others. So it is a kind and compassionate, and rewarding career. So they shouldn't have anything to be concerned about. Instead, they would have everything to be proud of, because they raised a wonderful person, because it takes wonderful people to help in this industry and and get people through the the unprecedented, like the unthinkable,
Sure,
or
sure.
whatever. You never want to think in terms of losing our loved ones, but when you realize that I've raised a child that is so compassionate and empathetic and is taking the time to do all of the legwork and help people through this difficult time in lives, that would make them very proud.
Hmm. I agree. I think those are amazing words. Just use everyday hero and that, they raise an amazing and compassionate human being. So hopefully those are some words of comfort and for any parent listening. And we hope that students, if you're in high school, if you're in college, or if you're a professional and you're looking to pivot into something else, we hope that you really take the time. Nikki mentioned SCI.jobs. Is there a website, or if you just Google Service Corporation International, you can just find out more. But this has been incredible. I have one more question too. Sorry, I had to Google it because I thought of this TV show on Netflix. Have you heard of the show Buried with the Bernards on Netflix?
Yes, I have. I
Okay.
think I may have
Okay.
looked at like one or two episodes of it, and
Yeah,
I
me
was like, "This
too.
is so funny."
Yeah, they were sweet, and I feel like I don't know if it's still on or not. I had to Google the name of the show because I couldn't remember. But I've only seen like clips of it. But I was like, this is a fun family that they're having like a good time, and
Yes.
they're funny. And I hope that brings some attention to the field too. That it can be, like you said, that it is a rewarding career. That they can have fun, in the career too, and um, make this, maybe as much as you can lighter for families that you're working with. Things like that.
Yes, yes. And a lot of our locations, because our locations are in like at a local level, but a lot of our
Mhm.
locations, they do their own thing and they have the most fun. They plan the most fun celebrations,
Yeah.
fun group gatherings or whatever. So you will find a lot of people who are in the industry are the best, like I said, the best people because you get the best of both worlds. They're sympathetic, they're kind, they're fun. This is
Yeah.
not the kind of industry that you go to that it's dark and gloomy, and no, it's really not. It's totally different than what a lot of people think. Yes, you're here to
Mhm.
help people through a difficult time, but it doesn't mean that you can't work at a place or work at an environment that's fun. So yeah, that was a
Mhm.
great analogy.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being here, Nikki. We really appreciate you being on here, and you shared your personal experience, and I think that helped a lot. And just experiences you had with your mother, and the experiences you had with the directors that you speak to, on a day to day basis. So, I think you really brought it down to just a day to day, a human level to help people understand that this is a great career field, and yeah, it's not going anywhere. We're always going to need
It's
it as long
not.
as we exist. It's not.
And
So
thank you so much for having me, Kiki. I
yeah,
loved it, loved coming on here, and I'm hoping that my words were able to resonate in the ears of your audience, and they consider the funeral industry because it's a great place to work for a reason.
absolutely. And if you could again just mention where they can find you all, if people have questions or want to reach out, can you just mention please where they can find you all?
Yeah, if you go to sci.jobs, you can learn all about our careers. You can learn about our culture, our company, everything on that website.
Wonderful. Well, thanks so much again for being here. Thanks everybody for listening. We really appreciate your support. We have multiple ways for you to support. Listening is amazing. Sharing the podcast is incredible as well. We really appreciate it. Um, if you want to be on the podcast, please reach out to us. We'd love to have you if you are in a career that you think we should talk about. We also have a link in our bio or in our show notes to buy us a coffee if you want to support us monetarily. But sharing, listening, talking about the podcast, we really appreciate those that have been tuning in and getting the podcast to other people as well. But you can also find us on social media. We're on TikTok, which is no longer banned. But if you want to get on TikTok, we are Yasin Podcast on TikTok and Instagram. So please find us there. And thanks so much for joining us in this episode. And we'll see you in the next one. See you.
Thank you, everyone, for tuning in and listening to the latest episode of Your Advisors Will See You Now. Please make sure to follow us on all of our social media pages and check out our website. Take a look at the show notes below.
And please make sure to subscribe and share this podcast. Also, show us some love and please leave a 5-star review. Catch you next time.
See ya.